Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us tonight on episode 16, season 3 of the Stand-Off with Brad and Richie here on New Zealand Sport Radio. We're here live every Wednesday on Facebook throughout the season. Evening, Richie. Decent weekend of footy, dampened by another Warriors loss, but there was a great upset by the Bulldogs. How was your week?
My week was very good, thanks, Brad. I hope yours was as well. Some interesting results from the weekend and Wednesday night last week too. After we wrapped up our show, we had your mighty Maroons doing a job on my New South Wales Blues, unfortunately.
Yeah, never in doubt. Never in doubt. And while we're here live on Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m, you can also catch our show at your convenience on iHeartRadio. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. As always, we're going to be covering everything you need to know in the week that was rugby league, including our top stories of the week, a review of State of Origin 1 and Round 14, and an update of our tips. We'll then stop and answer some questions from you guys, as well as some questions we've got for each other, before going into a preview of Round 15 and making our tips. And then hopefully time pending, ending with a little quick recap of the Super League. So remember to send us comments and questions throughout the show, and we may as well just jump straight into the top stories, Richie.
Yeah, let's do that.
First one I've just got some signing announcements. So we've got the Newcastle Knights have announced the signings of Adam Elliott and Jack Hetherington, both on 3-year deals. And Justin Olam has extended his stay with the Storm for another 4 years. So what's your take on the signings there? I think they're quite handy for both the Knights and the Storm.
Yep, very handy for the Knights. When you look at their pack for next year, they're losing Mitch Barnett coming over to us, obviously. So picking up Adam Elliott, who's been going pretty well, I think, for the Raiders recently, and Big Jack Hetherington, who you and I both have a soft spot for Big Jack, that I'm sure of. But that's those are some good additions to their pack. And Olam is a fantastic fit at the Storm, isn't he? He's very well performed there, so it makes a lot of sense for him to re-sign.
Yeah, definitely. He's been playing really well for the Storm, so not surprised to see him extend his stay there. And Jack Hetherington, love the guy. I know he's got the odd penalty and sin binning in him, but so does Mitch Barnett, so it's kind of a like for like there. So good to see him get to extend his career at another club. And Adam Elliott, I think, has really turned himself around since he went to the Raiders. Good luck to him at Newcastle. Rumor, nothing official yet, but the Parramatta Eels are apparently interested in the services of Matt Lodge. What's your take on that? I know we haven't talked about Lodgy for a while since he's now a rugby union superstar in the lower grades. What's your take on the Eels going after Lodgy?
I'll talk about him because we have to, because you brought it up. But I've moved on from Lodgy now, but he's a good front rower, isn't he? He's fantastic for us in a side that was losing more often than not, so he'd be a good one to add to Parramatta's arsenal.
Yeah, I think they'll have some room because they're going to lose a few players. So, I'm sure he'll do well wherever he winds up. I know he does want to stay in Sydney, so that ticks that box.
And we're paying part of his salary, so they're probably...
Exactly.
Yeah.
He should be able to get they should be able to get him at a decent price because of that. So, seems like a win-win for the Lodge family. So, we'll keep our ear to the ground on that and hopefully have some more news on official statement of signing when it comes. But I know you don't want to talk about it a lot, but I'll bring it in now. The New South Wales Blues, they're already waving the white flag and they're considering to rush Latrell Mitchell and Ryan Pappenhausen into the lineup for Origin 2 in Perth, despite both players having little or possibly no recent game time under their belt. What's your take on Fittler hitting the panic button so early?
When you look at how Latrell Mitchell performed in State of Origin last year, I'd be looking at all avenues to get him to be able to get onto the pitch as well. Also, the way Pappenhausen's been playing this year prior to injury, he's been playing the house down. But for the Blues, they're still going to need a collective effort. On Wednesday night, we'll talk about it a wee bit more, but some performances you wouldn't normally see out of some of their stars like Cleary, who is a bit quiet by his own standards. So,
I think he has to retire, mate. I think he's done.
Well, again, we'll speak about it when we review it, but I think their spine was well outdone by Queensland spine. So, it's all good to have Latrell come back, but I think the team as a whole are going to have to lift.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll talk about that very soon. We have some news from the Walker brothers. They've put their hand up for a coaching gig. It seems that they don't really care who, but they're asking for a 1-year deal to prove that they can make the Bulldogs, Tigers, or Warriors a playoff contender, saying if they don't make the playoffs, you can fire us. I think before the Nathan Brown situation last year, I was a big advocate of trying to get the Walker brothers in to be the Warriors coach. Warriors weren't interested. Still sounds like they're not interested at the moment either. But what's your take on Warriors teams gambling and potentially giving it to the Walker brothers, who, let's be clear, they're not the most conventional coaches out there, but they do get success with their interesting style, and their style seems to kind of fit like a glove with the Warriors of old. So seems like a no-brainer there, but I guess for a club's point of view, is it worth the risk of a whole year potentially going down in flames for trying? I'm not sure.
Well, they talk a great game, don't they? When they guarantee you finals footy or sack them, I like that kind of talk, and I like the unconventional style of footy. I think the Warriors have been the most dangerous when they play that kind of footy. So, part of me would love to see it, although it doesn't look likely being us. I think Mark Robinson's already come out and put pay to that. But, part of me would love to see it because, I think it would be a good fit. And if not, you sack them. And it's 1 year. I mean, we've had 27 years of little success anyway, so
I think either any three of the teams could do really well with this stuff.
It's worth risking a year going down in flames. I mean,
the last some of us can't do another year, Paul. It's hard.
2003, no, sorry, 2007, maybe 2010 in fifth place. Otherwise, every year since 2010, you could say, maybe 2011 in sixth place, you've gone down in flames.
Hey, we won the grand. We got to the grand final 2011.
We did, yeah.
But I'd like to see them get a shot just because I think they have an exciting brand of footy. But if you look at the overall rosters from the Bulldogs, Tigers, and Warriors, I think they could get the best out of any of those. They've kind of got players that fit that mold in all of those clubs already. Yeah. But we'll just have to see if any of the clubs either believe their pitch or are brave enough to make that decision. I'll keep flowing on in the coaching talk because Tohu Harris came out during the week. He's obviously been asked about the coaching future of the Warriors, and he has advised that he thinks his old mate Jason Riles would be a good fit as Warriors' next coach. I like the idea in theory, but I could probably bet the house on Jason Riles never even contemplating becoming the Warriors coach. I think he is pretty much en route to being the next Melbourne Storm coach. So I don't see him coming here.
Yeah, agreed. I'm with you on that. I think from everything I've heard, he's a likely candidate for Melbourne as well. And you put us up against them. Which way do you think he's going to go?
Yeah, exactly. It just seems not that coaching the Storm's an easy gig, but it seems like it's a little bit less stressful than coming to the Warriors.
He live in New Zealand. I mean, that's a big draw card, surely.
Apparently not.
That is true. Auckland is so much better than Melbourne. But, you know, yeah, it is what it is. I'll keep the Warriors train going. Actually, one more, I promise. Graham Ellerslie, it's kind of a nothing, but I just wanted to bring it up because it was discussed quite a lot during the game between you and I. But Graham Ellerslie in the post-round review of all the officials' decisions, he advised that the bunker got the Ronaldo Mulitalo try wrong in the Sharks-Warriors clash. Said that the fact that it was sent up as a no try, there wasn't enough evidence to overturn that decision, so it should have been a no try. However, as we'll go on when we get to that game, that wasn't the difference in the contest, but it's just, you know, it's further turns the knife on Warriors fans when they're watching. What did you think? I know we were speaking at length that we thought it wasn't a try as the game was going.
Yeah, we were, and that's exactly that was exactly the dialogue I think that was happening between us, Brad, is where did the bunker find sufficient evidence to overturn the on-field call? Because on 2 counts, touchline and double movement, it was pretty dodgy. So I didn't see any clear, hard and fast evidence to the contrary of what the on-field ref had called. So yeah, I was a bit dirty on that, but yeah, like you say, it wasn't the difference.
No. And we'll get into some nicer news now. The NRLW have announced that they're going to welcome 4 new sides into the competition in 2023. So the Women's Rugby League will now welcome the Raiders, the Sharks, the Cowboys, and the Tigers into the comp in 2023. So I think that's good. It's good to get a few more teams in there, and they're all at least they spread them around a bit. You know, you've got one in Canberra, you got 2 new ones in Sydney, and then one in North Queensland. Ideally, I think when they bring the rest in 2024, I assume the Warriors will be back in the mix at that point as well. So it's just good to see them get more. It's just going to be interesting, I guess, in 2023 to see how all the sides stack up and if there is enough talent at the moment to facilitate all those teams. But I think they'll do fine. They've been doing really well so far. So I think it'll be nothing but good things.
Yeah, fantastic. They're expanding. Just keep waiting for the Warriors to be put back in there. Yeah,
and they'll be back once we've got everything back in routine, being in New Zealand again, I'm sure. And then the last lots I've got is Luciano Leilua has left the Tigers immediately to join the Cowboys, and Raider Sam Williams has left the Raiders effective immediately as well. No word on where he'll end up as of yet, but I saw a quote. It was essentially saying that he decided to leave. He didn't want to be in the way of the young talent at the Raiders, so he was looking for other endeavors. So what's your thoughts on those?
Massive win if you're Luciano Leilua.
Yeah.
He's jumped off a sinking ship and jumped into a team very much on the rise. So great news for him. I thought the back row stocks at the Cowboys was already pretty good. So the depth has just got a whole lot better.
I think the reason they've jumped on it now is because we'll talk about it very soon. But Lukey from the Cowboys is out for the rest of the season.
He is.
So I think that's what's stemmed. And I think Leilua was kind of a Maguire guy anyway. So with Maguire gone, I think they weren't that interested in keeping him, which is crazy. But he was leaving at the end of the year anyway. So I guess they've just decided to let him go now. And Sam Williams, I've always liked Sam Williams. But he's kind of like, I don't want to sound disrespectful, he's kind of like Sean O'Sullivan, where he's a fill-in. Like, he's never going to be your starter, but when injuries are down or someone's missing due to other duties, you can slot him in and he's going to do a decent job for you.
Very solid.
Will be interesting to see where he goes, if he stays in the NRL or if he decides to go and become a superstar in the Super League. We'll keep an eye on it. It's very new. I think it was only announced either this morning or yesterday, so I'm sure we'll have more information next week. And then the last bit before we get into casualty ward, the Kiwi and Tongan squads have been named for next week's test. Richie's his question for me this week is to do with the squads, so we're going to discuss that a bit more in the question section of the show. So we'll talk about that after our reviews. Casualty ward, we've actually got quite a full ward this week. Kalen Ponga from the Knights, he suffered a grade 1 concussion. There's no word on when he'll be cleared to play. It sounds like he's going to be fine for this week. If not, it'll be next week. Ben Murdoch-Masila from the Warriors dislocated his elbow. Horrible to watch.
Awesome.
And originally they said he was going to be 6 to 8 weeks out. Some people are saying now it could be as little as 4 to 6. So best case scenario, a month. Which is just what the Warriors need, is losing one of their big boys, because there's not a lot of them left. Herbie Farnworth from the Broncos ruptured his bicep, and I haven't got an official length of time, but it sounds like he's going to be gone for quite a while. And then Lukey from the Cowboys, I just mentioned, he tore his ACL and is out for the rest of the season. That's what's prompted the Leilua shift. And then the last one was Xavier Coates from the Storm. He needs surgery on his ankle after getting injured in State of Origin, and he's going to be out for 8 weeks. So anything on those injuries, Richie?
Yeah, Helium Mookie in particular was, making up part of a fantastic back row for the Cowboys this year. So that's a pretty devastating one for him. Obviously, they've got in Leilua, as we were just mentioning, who's a pretty handy replacement, but it's just such a shame for him and the form he was in. Herbie Farnworth as well has been going great guns for the Broncos, so that'll be a bit of a blow for them. Ben Murdoch-Masila's one wasn't the nicest to look at. So you're one of your favourites, Brad. I'm sure you're going to miss him.
I think he did it on purpose just so he can avoid me when they come back to New Zealand. So
probably.
It's a bit disappointing. So that was all we had for Casualty Ward. I only got one person in Naughty Boy Corner this week. That is Tiger Brent Naden. He has entered an early guilty plea for a grade 3 dangerous throw on Jake Travojevic, and he's going to be suspended for 4 matches. I'm going to be on your side of the fence this time, Richie. It didn't look good. It was quite dangerous. I don't mind the head highs and all that, but the old pick up and drive on your head into the ground is quite dangerous. So I think 4 weeks is well deserved there. But I'm not the biggest Naden fan either, so that probably helps with my opinion on it.
If the bar of 4 matches is set at name calling, like Montoya, I think Naden probably should get more. It's a bit funny how that works, but it wasn't nice. It was a bit of an ugly one.
Yeah, exactly. So that was all the news and everything. So we may as well just jump straight into the State of Origin around 14, Richie. So I will hand the floor to you.
Sure, we'll start at State of Origin this week. So last Wednesday, after we wrapped up our show, Queensland defeated New South Wales 16-10. I'm sure Brad was pumped about that. 3 tries to 2. Dan Gagai, Daly Cherry Evans, and Valentine Holmes, who was immense through the whole game. 2 tries to New South Wales, Jack Whiten and Cameron Murray grabbing the last try for the match, but although they came very close and Isaiah Yeo nearly got a try under the post right at the end to draw level and force some extra time, it wasn't to be. And I think at the end of the day, Brad, Queensland pretty much well-deserved winners.
Yeah, I think it was a great start to the Origin series as well. Having a tight matchup that did go down the wire, as you said, in the dying seconds. It could have easily gone into Golden Point, with the New South Wales just being stopped at the last minute. I did think New South Wales started well, and I thought they controlled a lot of the first half, but then they just made too many mistakes. And a bit like a few other teams we're going to talk about soon, Queensland made the most of those mistakes and got into the contest and then took over. But yeah, New South Wales did start to fight back, but Queensland just held firm with some strong defence at the end. For Queensland, I thought Munster and DCE looked great, and I thought Selwyn Cobbo had a good debut. A lot of people didn't think he should have been in the team, but I think he did well. Cleary, he had, as you mentioned a little bit earlier, he had an off night, but he wasn't helped by some lackluster forward work from the pack. But yeah, that's all I really had that I wrote down. But it looks like we're going to have a hell of a series, which I guess is the main thing. Keep it competitive. New South Wales will probably win the next one. And then Queensland will take it all out in the end.
Perhaps, mate, perhaps you're on the money, but you're right. Queensland bought a lot, and in the forward battles, like you alluded to, I think Queensland got on top of it there. Paddy Carrigan, I think, was one of the best on the field. They managed to slow New South Wales ruck speed down quite a lot, and I think when you watch the Panthers play, their spine thrives off that quick ball. So they did a pretty good job to stymie all their big players, and on the other hand, Queensland's spine had a field day, as well as Valentine Holmes as well. The whole team pretty much just showed up and played for each other, and it's a great start to Billy Slater's coaching tenure.
Yeah, that just shows you what it means to have an experienced coach leading you. All his decades of coaching has done well. I get a bit of stick because in Origin, I don't think you even need a good coach as such in Origin, because these guys are generally the creme de la creme of the NRL. So they kind of just need to be told a game plan and then go out and execute it, and you're going to get it. But yeah, great start for him there. It'll be interesting to see what changes Fittler makes, if any. I still think Jake Trbojevic should have been in there. I know we argued about it last week. And I think Josh Adokar should probably go back into the squad as well. But yeah, interesting times, and looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, and looks like we've got Rue from Rue and Hammer. He's jumped in the comments here too and said Cotter was massive playing 80. He was. I agree with you completely.
Yeah,
fantastic debut from him. That game flows into Cotter's team, actually. Cowboys versus Dragons.
Rue and Hammer, boys, what are you up to? Look, you can hear Brad sick and not feeling well, but hey, they're still here. You guys falling off your show after with oh dear me.
The lack of commitment from Rue and Hammer, Hammer gets sick and they cancel, and I get sick and we plow on. It's the Kiwi in us, I don't know. But
what a trooper, Brad. What a trooper.
That's what I do. That's what I do.
Friday night's game, the Cowboys, as I was just saying, Cotter's team, getting up over the Dragons 31-12. 5 tries to 2 for the Cowboys. Scott Drinkwater, one of my main men, Peter Hiku, Reece Robson, Murray Taulagi, and Connolly Lemuelu, and 2 tries to the Dragons, Moses Sully and Jaden Sewer. It's almost rinse and repeat from a lot of Cowboys' recent performances, Brad. They're playing very well. They seem to notch around 30 points, and they've been fantastic, mate. I don't know what more to say. We say it most weeks now, I feel like.
Yeah, they just keep rolling on. They had a few players back up from Origin, and they never looked in doubt. They just got a great attitude. I think I highlighted a play where they threw an intercept and it went 60 meters the other way. And then quick as a hiccup, the whole Cowboys team were back in a defensive line quicker than the Dragons could take advantage of that. And that just shows the great culture that Todd Payton's brought in there for them. Drink water. It's going from strength to strength as well.
Yeah, big time.
Just a great performance, and the Dragons just continue to not click. Moses Mbai at hooker isn't working, and Ben Hunt needs some help out there. I think he was really trying to keep them in the contest, but it just didn't work. And their defense is poor and their attack's just as bad. Not much more I can say about it, really.
I can see you're hurting over the Dragons' demise.
It hurts seeing them lose.
Oh, you're secretly loving it. Saturday game, the Rabbitohs over the Titans 30-16, 5 tries to 3. Alex Johnston with a hat trick. He knows how to do that. And now the Rabbitohs' greatest try scorer, Jackson Paulo and Tane Milne, rounding up the tries for the Rabbitohs. 3 tries for the Titans. Greg Maju, who's looking very much like a tank this year, and Tino Fa'asumalawi grabbing a double. But again, not enough for the Titans, and the Rabbitohs doing a job on them.
Yeah, no surprises in this match, really. Kind of went in expecting a decent win by the Rabbitohs, and that's what we got. It was a good game from Souths. They're still making too many errors, which I love to keep reminding them every week. Against a better side, it could have cost them the match potentially. But they're playing one of the cellar dwellers, so you kind of have a little bit of a buffer on that type of thing. The pending return of Latrell Mitchell, I think, is going to make them a much more dangerous side. Titans, to their credit, they did try to stay in the hunt. But I think we talked about it last week as well. There's so many inexperienced players in that lineup, and it kind of hurts them in the back end. They can't play for that 80 minutes. But I think the lessons they're learning this year will help them for 2023. Want to also point out of the bottom 4 teams, they're the only team that haven't sacked their coach out of those 4. I'm not saying that's on the cards yet. They seem to be happy with the coaching staff. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, Big Tino was a shining light for them. And as you said, Greg Mazu, he's a monster on that edge. And I think they'd probably have a bit more success if they just threw in the ball more.
Yeah, 100%. I was very happy to see the Hattie from Alex Johnston, my preseason tip for leading try scorer. So he's starting to ratchet his numbers up there. But what do you think of Cody Nikarima, a guy that's recently departed from us? How do you think he's going?
Hell of a player. I think the Warriors should have a stab at trying to get him here. I think he's doing all right. Obviously, he's not a fullback. But he's doing enough, and he's finally learning how to kick the goals a bit more accurately. It's just going to be interesting to see what happens with him when Latrell comes back. If he moves into the 14 role, or if they bring him into the halves, or if they drop him out entirely. I think he's probably a lock-in for the 14, at least. If not, pairing him with Cody Walker in the halves potentially. To let Lachlan have a bit more time to get seasoned. Yep,
fair enough. The next game was the Storm versus the Roosters. Storm getting the win there, 26-18. 5 tries to 3 for the Storm. Grant Anderson on debut grabbing a double. Marion Seve grabbing a double. And Felice Kafusi, the Storm's right-hand side attack, was very potent this match. But it wasn't all one-way traffic. They were going try for try there for quite a lot of the match, and 3 tries for the Roosters. Joseph Suwali, Sam Walker, and Satili Tuponoa. So, quite an entertaining game, I thought, Brad. How did you see it unfold?
Yeah, I think it was the first tight tussle since the Origin game, really, in this round. But yeah, Storm just rinse and repeat. They're just too good. It was a cliche team effort. I couldn't really highlight anyone to be head and shoulders above anyone else in the Storm team. Grant Anderson, as you said, he got a double. Great debut for him. With a few of the injuries the Storm have, he's probably going to see a bit more game time in the upcoming weeks. Jerome Hughes directed play well. And for the Roosters, though, yeah, I think they started well, but a few untimely errors kind of did them towards the end. And they kind of fell apart a bit when Luke Keary went off. When he had his head knock, they kind of lost a bit of direction there. But yeah, I just don't know what's happening with the Roosters. I know you predicted great things for them this year. They've got a great squad, but isn't moving into their weekly performances. They just need to find consistency.
Yeah, that's key, isn't it, Brad? Some weeks they look like world beaters, and then the next they've dropped a few games now. So
yeah,
similar to the Eels almost, but the Broncos 24 over the Raiders 18, 4 tries to 3 for the Broncos. Ezra Mam, Jordan Pereira, and Herbie Farnworth grabbing a double before he picked up his injury. For the Raiders, Nick Kotrick, Corey Horsburgh, and Adam Elliott grabbing the 3 tries. This was a heck of a battle, Brad, and I thought if I was going to describe the Broncos' performance, I think they picked up quite a few injuries, so it was very brave. I think they were very short on the bench by the end of it if they had anybody left, so very courageous.
Yeah, I think brave's probably the right way to say it. It was in the conversation for match of the round for me. I think they were pipped at the post by the very last game. But it was a busy first half. Both teams basically scored all their points in that first half. But yeah, the Broncos, they started well. They looked dangerous, but they stayed looking dangerous even when they lost Herbie Farnworth, Payne Haas, and Adam Reynolds. They had every excuse in the book to kind of throw in the towel, but they held firm. That goes down to culture again. I'm saying it a lot, but it seems like as much stick as we were giving Kevy in that last year, it seems to be having a positive impact within the club. And yeah, it was a great effort from them. Raiders didn't play bad either by any means. I thought Joseph Tapani and Corey Horsburgh were doing a lot of heavy lifting in the middle. But the Raiders just didn't give themselves enough scoring opportunities in that second half. Tough game to lose for them, but you can't criticize the effort.
Yeah, they're made of different sauce this year, aren't they, the Broncos? I mean, those aren't exactly minor injuries. Those are key players they lost, and still found a way to win, and good teams do that. So, like the Cowboys, they're on the rise, so it's great if you're a Broncos fan. The next game was Brad's second love, the Manly Sea Eagles, 30 points to 4 over the Tigers. 5 tries to 1 for the Sea Eagles. Josh Aloe, Ruben Garrick, Haumole Olakoatu, who had a storming game. Kola and Josh Aloe actually grabbed a double. And only the solitary try for Luke Garner for the Tigers. A bit happening in this game, Brad, as well as a send-off for Brent Naden, which we touched on a bit earlier. But, yeah, 6-4 at halftime to Manly, but they go on with it in the second half and pour it on. What do you make of it?
Yeah, Tigers were woeful here. The heart and grit that I've been praising that they play with under Maguire looks to have left when he left out the door. Not really much to say about the Tigers. I think there's long days ahead for the club, and I don't see them bouncing back anytime soon. Manly just dominated the contest. Their forwards were steamrollers all night, much like they were the week before against the Warriors. And this just made everything easier for their backs, which it's kind of the perfect way to play. Get the big boys up front to do all the hard work, and it just makes the prima donnas out the back's day a little bit easier. It was just a good performance against a lowly side. Manly just need to actually start delivering efforts like this against top 8 sides if they want to actually get into the 8.
Yeah, that's the key. I mean, even without Tommy, they're looking good. They're doing a lot better without him than they did last year. But the key for Manly is going to be tipping off some of the top 6, top 4. That's what they really struggled with last year.
Yeah.
Big win in the next game. Panthers 42 to the Knights 6. 7 tries to 1. Nathan Cleary got a try at a big bounce back game after his poor showing in Origin. Viliami Kikau, poor Kalen Ponga felt the wrath of him. He got steamrolled. Taylor May, Brian To'o, Isaac Tangor, Stephen Crichton, and Brian To'o grabbing his second try. And the last try of the game for the Knights, Edric Lee. So 7 tries to 1 there. 26-0 at halftime, 42-6 at full time. The Panthers, super efficient. They do what they do. Don't know what more else you say.
No, yeah, another strong effort from the Panthers. They're just clinical. They doesn't matter who you are, they'll go out there and wipe the floor with you if you give them the chance. As you see, Cleary made up for his Origin performance. Panthers just played perfect football almost. They shift the ball around well, and almost everyone in the side's an attacking threat, which is really dangerous. I'm really concerned about what the Panthers are going to do to the Warriors this week. We talked about it before the show, but Knights just never showed up. They were lucky they weren't held to nil, scoring that last try in the final 10. But I struggle to see them getting many wins for the rest of the season. I guess they would just have to hope that they were playing the Warriors, Tigers, and Titans a lot. But they're not. So rough road ahead for the Knights.
Yeah, indeed. I'm with you there, mate. The next game was, unfortunately, the Warriors game. So the Sharks 38-16 over the Warriors. 8 tries to 3. The wingers having a field day. Sione Katoa grabbing a hat-trick. Siosifa Talakai, Ronaldo Mulatalo grabbing a double. Matt Moylan and William Kennedy round out the tries for the Sharks. For the Warriors, Reece Walsh grabbed his first for the year. Wade Egan and Dallin Watene-Zelezniak with the 3 tries. So Warriors out of the gates pretty fast, Brad. Reece Walsh after 6 minutes. Wade Egan after 11. 12-0 up. Things were looking peachy for Stacey's first game in charge, but some familiar patterns crept back in. Errors, Pompey kicking a kickoff out on the full, and as it would prove this year, we're not defending those errors, are we?
No, we're not. And Simon's mentioned no dead cap bounce for him. Yeah, he unfortunately got both of those wrong in the picks. But yeah, I thought Simon was onto a winner here at the start of this game when the Warriors looked like they had turned over a new leaf. But yeah, as you said, it was the errors that crept back in and their inability to defend those errors. The Sharks, I don't know if it was every time, but it felt like every time the Warriors made an error, the Sharks scored off it. And I don't even know what to say anymore. Sharks, they were made to look better than what they actually were in this game. I don't think they will go home saying it was a great game by them. They just made the best of their opportunities. Rocco Berry forgot that he plays rugby league now. Going down with the ball in the last tackle multiple times and almost made me lose my TV when he didn't pass to his unmarked winger for a certain try. But he's young. He's been dropped this week, which was a call I made. But it's a learning process, I guess, for him as well. Confidence is at an all-time low for the fans and the club alike, I think. But at least we're only a few weeks away from playing at Mount Smart again, which I think is going to be a huge shot in the arm, at least for fans. I'm not sure if the players will give us what we want to see. I'm losing confidence in that, but they're playing the Tigers at least, so that's something. But yeah, the Sharks were just composed. They could have panicked after that quick start that the Warriors did, but they kept to their game plan and as many teams know now, the Warriors are going to give you all the chances in the world to take control of the match. You just have to wait. And that's what we saw.
Yeah, absolutely. We spoon-fed them way too many chances after such a great start. You mentioned Rocco Berry failing to pass on a 2-on-1. Very frustrating. Him also on the last tackle, but that kind of points to me to lack of direction from our spine. I mean, why are we putting in the ball in Rocco Berry's hands on the last? Why aren't we trying to roll it into the in goal for a repeat set or a good chase and a try? So maybe it's the decision making. They think it's on, but in hindsight, it's not really on. And poor Rocco Berry's just getting smothered on the last. So and we end up looking like fools. So
yeah.
It is what it is. Let's hope for better this weekend. It's hard to see with the Panthers coming to town, but let's move on.
Yeah.
A real turn-up for the books in the Monday game. The Bulldogs, I wish I'd tipped them and look like a genius here, but no one would have seen this coming. 34-4 over Parramatta. 6 tries to 1. Josh Adokar, proving New South Wales selectors should have picked them maybe with a hat-trick. Jake Averillo, Jacob Carraz, and Jake Averillo grabbed the second. 6 tries to 1. Will Penasini grabbing the only try for the Eels. 16-0 half-time and then 34-4 at full-time, Brad. You can't have seen this coming. Surely this is the best I've seen the Bulldogs play in years.
No, ruined my perfect round.
Same.
I was very disappointed. I was getting excited to have a perfect round, and then, the Bulldogs, I don't know what they had for breakfast, but they need to have it all the time. It was my game of the week just due to the upset. Bulldogs are on fire. Hard to fault anyone on that side. Matt Burton and Josh Adokar were on fire as well.
Yeah, what a combo.
As you said, Adokar really wanted to show New South Wales selectors that they messed up not picking him. Jake Averillo looked like a new man at fullback. Think he should stay there long term. You're not going to see the Bulldogs make the 8 or anything. That's still a pipe dream, but they're going to avoid the wooden spoon by a decent margin now. They're currently still only 15th on the ladder, but I think looking at the teams slightly above them, I think they're going to get past them. For the Parramatta though, they're atrocious. They're one of the hardest teams to pick in this competition.
Yeah.
I've got it here. They bet the Storm and the Panthers, but they've now also lost to the Bulldogs and the Tigers. You can't see yourself as a genuine premier threat when your wins and losses are that polar opposite. Going out there and doing quite well against the 2 best teams in the competition for some time and then losing to 2 of the worst. It's just not on. Mitch Moses had a night to forget, including losing the ball when he was going for a try. He was trying to show off a little bit and he got it knocked out. I just don't know what Parramatta are doing. I think they're well on the way to being another year where they make the playoffs and then they're out the first week and then they go home. And I don't see them being a genuine threat anytime after this with all the players that are leaving.
Yeah, for sure. The thing with the Eels is once they get hot, like you say, they can beat anybody. But I think once it comes down to finals footy, we all know they've got a performance like this in them. So, maybe they might win a first-round game or they even could get hot and maybe jag too. But when it's against the top teams, I don't see them, progressing much further than that.
Yeah.
That was the round.
So do you want to bring up the ladder first, Paul? All right, we can... Yep, there we go. We could show them all. So I'm just writing down Simon's picks. So we got Panthers, Storm are still first and second. Cowboys are still sticking. Third, Broncos are fourth. Sharks, after that win, have gone up to 5th. We've got the Eels at 6th, Rabbitohs at 7th. Roosters have gone all the way down to 8th, which isn't good for your prediction of premiers.
No, it's terrible, mate.
My prediction's even worse because my Sea Eagles are 9th. Dragons, my wooden spoon, are 10th. Raiders are 11th. Your wooden spoon, the Knights, are 12th. Then we've got the Tigers at 13th. The Warriors at 14th. The Bulldogs have gone up to 15th, which means the Gold Coast Titans are now wooden spoon as of now. What do you reckon? Do you think the Titans will stay there?
It's leaving me very nervous now, mate. We are only one win out of wooden spoon territory. And when you look at the points differential,
yeah.
Yes, you're right, Paul. It's very painful to talk about it. It's not out of the realms of possibility. It's never happened before, but I'm starting to get real nervous. And we have the Panthers this week. I'm hoping, got all fingers and toes crossed, that we can pull something out of the hat.
Yeah, exactly. So now if we go to our tipping comps, I've got 2 pretty little pitches this week. So we'll go with round 14 first. Richie and myself both got 7 out of 8 because the Bulldogs screwed us. And Simon got 5 out of 8 because his Tigers and Warriors picks went against him, unfortunately. So that sees me leading 73 out of 108. Richie in second at 70 out of 108. And Simon at 67 out of 108. So 3 points between all of us now. Interesting. I should still get it. But, and Roberts just said as well, wooden spoon might come down to the last round game between us and the Titans, which I really hope it doesn't, but it's definitely going to be on the cards.
Me too, because we played them in the last round last year, and we all remember what happened there.
Yes, we don't talk about it anymore.
No.
And then State of Origin, we've got our separate competition within a competition. My Simon and myself both got 1 out of 1, picking Queensland, and Richie picked wrong. So he is on 0, which means that Simon and myself are leading 1 out of 1. Richard's 0 out of 1. So
hate Origin anyway.
I think you won it 3-0 last year.
I did. I loved it then. I hate it now.
Yeah. So did we have any questions from anyone, Paul?
Yeah, we've got a couple of questions. I mean, one of them goes all the way back to what we were talking about early on with Jeff Sarton over on your Inga's League wrap-up Facebook page has asked, has Brad ever seen a Walker Brothers team play, or is he just looking for someone new? I think that some of the unavailable new coaches will become available, and they're all waiting for the same teams. Those vacancies are few and far between. So, yeah, Brad, a bit of an accusation there that you're just asking for change. That the brothers, they ain't no good.
No, I have watched. They were with the Ipswich Jets, so I did get to see not as much as you do if you see it in the NRL. So I have watched enough because I looked into it a bit more last year, Paul, when we were talking about them potentially being the Warriors coaches last year. So I was looking at a lot of their highlights and that, which doesn't always give you a great indication. But like as I said at the start, I don't see it happening. I just think it would be an interesting prospect. I've still got Christian Wolf as my number 1. But there's rumors now that Wayne Bennett wants him to come to the Dolphins. So I don't know. It's a great question to end with.
Simon wants you to stick with Stacey Jones, but there we go. Also, Simon asked us early on, with the internationals next week, are the NRL games a bit sort of woe? Is it a bit? Should we be having a bit like, I guess, having Origin and NRL the same weekend? Should NRL take a weekend off for the internationals?
They are.
Oh, they are. Are they? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So not next week's show, but the week after will be a little bit less to talk about because there'll be the international games in State of Origin. So we've got Kiwis, Tonga. I think there's 3 because I think there's the other 2 we talked about on the show. I think it's like Fiji. Is it Fiji, Cook Islands, Samoa, and Papua New Guinea? I might be wrong. I will have them. Obviously, when we get to the show, we will prepare, I'm sure. But yeah, so that week there'll be no games for the NRL to review, but there'll still be 4 or 5 games for us to talk about. And Simon also said England's playing the combined All Stars again, as well, so there'll be that one too. But yeah, so the NRL take that weekend off. So yeah, that's this weekend here.
And also France playing Wales, apparently. There we go.
Yes. So yeah, there'll still be a lot for us to talk about. But yeah, it's actually good to see the NRL do it, where they're taking a back seat, just to give the international something.
So then one from me, because you kind of, I think, half jokingly said that we might be looking at 3 figures this weekend for the Warriors game. So
such confidence.
I thought I would just have a quick look at the most points scored ever in an NRL game. And I guess the question from me is, do you see the record from 1935 being broken, where St George scored 91 points against Canterbury Bankstown this coming weekend by the Panthers against the Warriors?
Nah, I was being facetious. It's just the low level I feel right now with the Warriors. I am expecting more similar to the Storm game. I'll be very happy if we get 50 put on us, but I'm thinking it could even be as bad as 60 or 70. But in saying that, the Warriors last year and the year before, when the Panthers were wiping everyone off the plaque, they did take them to the limit. They didn't win, but they still kept it reasonably close. So it's the joy of being a Warriors fan, Paul, is that you go in expecting a cricket score and they'll be real close. You expect to win, it's a cricket score. You just never know.
I see what you're doing there, because you were coming off very pessimistic there, saying you'd be happy with 50.
Yeah, it's all about lowering expectations.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from.
The only thing I can guarantee is I'll be very surprised if the Warriors won. But yeah, I just want to see effort. And my question kind of goes into that with, I think they've made some changes in the right direction to at least have some of that.
A couple of comments in the live chat. So Jeff goes, ouch, that's the harsh question, Paul. Sorry. Yeah. And Rue, anything under 50 would be amazing. He says.
So Rue's in the same idea as me. We're being realistic here. It's not a good team right now, and they're playing one of the best teams that's been around the NRL in some time. I don't know.
Okay, so that's the questions from the live chat, boys. So yeah, it's just the questions between you.
Cool, thank you. I'll go with my one first, because your one's going to be a bit more of a discussion, Richie. So my one was to do with the Warriors. Stacey has made a few changes to the Warriors this week. One, are you happy with the changes, or would you have picked a different lineup?
I am happy-ish. I'm happy there are some changes. There are probably some others I would have made. So as it stands on Team Naming Tuesday, it was Walsh at fullback, Watene-Zelezniak and Montoya in the wings, Arthurs and Pompey in the centres, Volkman for his debut, Johnson in the halves, Afoa, Egan, Tavanga as the front row, Murchie and Harris in the second row, and Curran at lock. So out of that bunch, nothing against Tavanga in the middle, but I prefer him as a 13 or off the bench. I would have liked to have seen Dynamis Louis maybe in that spot. I think he didn't look too bad when he came on the weekend. I like that Arthurs has been promoted to the centres, and nothing against Berry. I think Berry's a prospect, but he's just been really struggling for form this year. And Arthurs, prior to injury, was one of our better players. So, I've been wanting his name to be read out for a few weeks now. So for me, it's good to see him. I'm excited to see what Volkman can do. Very big ask against the Panthers to make your debut, especially in a struggling side. But I'm excited to see what he can do. So to answer your question, yeah, I'm happy with some of the changes. There are others I probably would have made, but I'll live with it.
Yeah, I look at it with the Volkman thing. I look at it the other way, where I think it's the perfect time because there's no expectations that the Warriors are going to do anything other than horrible. So, if he goes out there and at least looks competent, that's a win. It's a bit the same when Walsh made his debut. Admittedly, his debut against the Storm, even though the Warriors were trounced, he looked really good in it. But it's you're just throwing them out there and like, what's the worst that could happen? I'm going to cheat because I actually write who I would bring in my review. So I've actually got my review up, and I'm just going to look at what I said. So I said, regarding the team I would pick, in the backs, I would give SJ a week to think and bring Dejan Arce in to partner with CHT. So me and Stacey don't see eye to eye already. I would also move Ewan Aitken to the centres to replace Rocco. Ewan's injured now, but they brought Arthur's in. So Arthur's in for Berry is fine. I also said I'd bring Curran into Aiken's spot, promote Bunty to the starting row, which they've done, and I bring AFB in for Ben Murdoch-Masila.
Yeah.
We're going to see, I'm pretty sure AFB is going to be playing. I did say that I would like to see Pride Peterson-Rabadi get a shot. And I would bring him in for Jack Murchie. So that was what I had done. Just because I think Pride Peterson's been playing really well in the reserve grade. And there's only so much you can do in reserve grade before you get that chance to see if you can go up the next level.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Especially with guys like Murchie and that being serviceable at times and then horrible at others. I think, what's the harm in throwing him out there? He, in fairness, he couldn't do any worse.
I really hope Fanua Blake is good to go, but I don't want him to rush back. I see he's named in the extended reserves, so if he's good to go, then fantastic. I'd get him in there, but if he's not quite 100, you might as well rest him another week.
Yeah. Having him out there or not is going to be, it's not going to change the game that much. So if he is a bit niggly, give him another week. But yeah, your question.
I was wanting to talk a bit of international footy, Brad. So the Kiwis team was named. I just wanted to know, were you happy with the team that was named? And did anybody miss out that you would have named in the squad?
Yeah, so Paul, thankfully, he's put up the team list, the wider squad. I'm looking at it on my screen on my left here. So your question was, anyone miss out that you would have named in the squad?
Yeah, are you happy with it to start off?
I'm pretty happy with it. It's probably the first time in many years that we've probably had more Warriors playing for Tonga than we have for the Kiwis, with only Dylan Watney-Lesniak making it from the Warriors. But thinking of the other Kiwi, I think the only other guy in the Warriors that could have potentially made it in there was Jazz. I know Tohu has shown his interest to be in the Kiwis again, but Michael Maguire has come out and said that Tohu's just back from his injury. So he wants to see him get a bit more time. And Paul said 8 debutants. Is that a worry in World Cup here? Not really, because the Kiwis haven't got to play in like 3 years. So a lot of the players that were playing there have retired now. So there's a lot of new guys jumping in. But it's a pretty good squad. I'm reasonably happy with it. I think Jerome Hughes and Dylan Brown have been the best New Zealand halves. So I know a lot of people were talking about Sean being dropped. I think it's fair to say Sean hasn't been playing at the level to be playing for New Zealand right now with those guys in the mix. Yeah, I think the only one I would have changed is I probably wouldn't have picked Aaron Clark, and I would have picked Jazz
Yeah.
instead.
Yeah, me too. Exactly.
And that's really it. I think all the rest are pretty good. And there's another team we're playing there. If you want to bring up the Tongan team, Paul, the Tongan team is scary. So
But so was ours.
yeah, but this is a dangerous team. We've actually got some okay halves now. Like I think I talked about it last week with the Christian Wolf thing, where Christian Wolf's good at getting a team with with a decent forward pack and no halves to be successful. But he's got Katoni Stags playing in 6, and he's got Amoni from the Dragons now. So I think they're both a step up from the Arahinganos and the likes there. So
how scary is that centre pairing?
Yeah, Talakai and Suli. That's scary. That's basically two front rowers that are centres out there,
Yeah.
and then you got Daniel Tupou and Sione Katoa as the wingers for Tonga. Kula as well at fullback. Then in the forwards, I think the Tongan forward pack can be talked about as one of the better international forward packs running around. You got Takiaho and Whenua Blake with Havili at the front row, Tupanua, Colin Matangi, and Jason Tamalolo as your back three. And then you've got like Olo Kuatu, who is still wiping Warriors parts out of his boots from last week. Pangai Jr. as well, Fotuika. And yeah, we've got Alessi Katoa and Andrew Fafita in there too. It's I think that's a great squad. And yeah, Rob's just mentioned it's a sad indictment on the state of the Warriors with just one selection.
It is.
But yeah, you look, we got one selection for the Kiwis, but we've got 2 selections for Tonga. So we got 3 in the international window, which is good. But yeah, it's going to be a great game.
That's going to be a fantastic game. Just eyeballing those 2 squads, that is a very physical, scary looking side Tonga's rolling out. But I think the Kiwis team that they've named is made up of some really informed players and the really successful teams. So you mentioned Jerome Hughes and Dylan Brown. That's the way you'd go, because they've picked Fozzie as well. They've picked Kieran Foran, but you going Hughes and Brown?
I would probably go Hughes and Brown. They potentially will probably bring Foran in maybe for experience.
Yeah,
but I feel like Jerome Hughes has kind of already got to that level in terms of being an experienced player now.
He has, yeah.
And yeah, there's just good players everywhere, but it's more the centers. You got Joey Manu. Do you make him a center or do you move him to fullback in this game? It'll be interesting to see. But at least Michael Maguire's got a lot of time on his hands at the moment to get this sorted. So, but yeah, there's some good players in there. Papali'i's playing at the peak of his performances right now. James Fisher-Harris is still one of the best front rowers around.
Yep.
Scott Sorensen's making his debut, which is great to see. There's a lot of good players in there. So, yeah, it makes me a little bit more confident for the World Cup, seeing what players are actually putting their hand up to be Kiwis and not saying, I might still make Origin, so I'm gonna hold off. So, yeah, very good to see. And we got Nuakura in there as well, who's going to be a Warrior, so that we can claim that one.
Yeah, good call.
So just to point out, this is a double header. So the Kiwi Ferns and the Tongan women will play as well as the Kiwis versus Tonga. That's 25th of June at Mount Smart in Auckland. And you can still get tickets for just under $33 each. Get on down there and get some international footy and, watch the women's game as well. Yeah.
It's going to be great. And we'll talk about all of those when we get to review the games. And I can't wait to watch them. So we may as well jump into round 15 in our picks, Richie. Simon's given me his while we were waffling on. And we've got, first up, Thursday night, Dragons versus Rabbitohs. Simon and myself have both picked the Rabbitohs here.
Me too.
You as well. I feel like we're probably all going to pick the same here. It feels like it's very cut and dry. Next game is Seagulls Cowboys. Simon and myself have both picked the Cowboys.
Me too. I thought you might pick Manly there.
No. Storm Broncos, second game on Friday. Simon and myself have both picked the Storm.
Storm, but
Storm as well.
Should be a great game, though.
It should be. Next up, we've got Sharks Titans. Again, Simon and myself both picked the Sharks.
Sharks.
All right. The big game. Game of the week. Warriors versus Panthers. Simon and myself, we've both picked the Panthers.
Oh, filthy traitor. No, I went Panthers too.
You went Panthers too? Yep. Then the last game on Saturday night is the Eels and Roosters. This game we went different actually. Simon went with the Roosters and I went with the Eels because reasons.
What's the reason?
They played really bad and I expect them to play really good because that's how they go.
I went Roosters.
You went Roosters. So that increases my lead. Good to see. First game on Sunday, Raiders versus Knights. Simon and myself have both gone with the Raiders.
Easy choice, Raiders.
Easy choice, especially in Canberra. And then the last game, Bulldogs versus Tigers. Simon and myself have both gone with the Bulldogs.
I went Doggies too. How did we all tip the Dogs?
Because they played really well and it's the Tigers.
They did.
So there we go. There's only one game different, and that's the Eels versus Roosters. So we will see what happens. Simon said he can't trust Parramatta. I can't either, but
I can't trust the Roosters either.
Yeah.
It's a toss of the coin.
So yeah, Bulldogs, and he also said Bulldogs Tigers was the hardest match. Yeah, I don't know if we can see the Bulldogs doing what they did against the Eels every week, but the Tigers seem to be at rock bottom. But when you're at rock bottom, you got to have a bit of coming back. So we'll see. As long as they make it an interesting game for us to talk about. Rob said he's going to have mixed emotions on Saturday, heading out to the final Warriors game in Redcliffe. Yeah, well, I don't feel any sympathy for you, Rob, because it means that we get to have some games in New Zealand again, and that's all I want.
Enjoy it though, mate. Cheer hard, and hopefully we get the win for you.
Yeah. And then Super League. There wasn't really too much to talk about. Wigan defeated Salford 30-12. Catalans defeated Hull FC 36-8. And St. Helens won against Hull KR 26-18. So it still keeps the top of the ladder with St. Helens 1, Catalans 2, and Wigan 3. So and Dylan said, "What's the deal with Tohu Harris?" What's wrong with Tohu?
Yeah. What are you referring to there, Dylan? You don't think he's playing well, or he's just come back from injury, so.
Yeah, I think if you're talking about why is he not in the Kiwis, we covered that a bit. Michael Maguire just wants him to get a few more games under his belt before he goes to play internationals. I've seen no new news on Tohu on the other screen, so nothing breaking's come out. But yeah, I assume that's what you're referring to. But anything else you want to add, Richie?
Not really, mate. Thanks to all the lovely people. We've had quite a mix of people throwing some chat in there, so that's always lovely to see. And you for being a trooper and braving your sickness, and Paul for making us look good, as always. It's a hard job doing that, you know.
It is. I just like having a deep voice once in my life, so I wanted to make the most of it. But yeah, okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in tonight and joining us on the Standoff with Brad and Richie for your weekly update on rugby league. Tune in our show next week at 8 p.m. Here on Facebook or at your convenience on iHeartRadio. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. Thanks again for joining me tonight, Richie, and thanks for your work in the background. And good night, everyone.